Thanks for coming. This is Panic for Fun and Profit. We're here at Life, the Universe, and Everything in February 2026. And what I'm going to tell you today flies in the face of what everybody else is teaching about stress, okay? And until you realize that this is actually possible, it flies in the face of common sense too. But it's true. Let's have a show of hands real quick. How many of you came to this talk because you hate panicky feelings? You don't ever want to feel panic again. Raise your hands. Hate panic. Okay. All right. Now, anybody else? Another show of hands. You are here because you actually read the description of my talk.
Yeah.
And you are at least willing to hear me out about this crazy idea of panic being, right? If maybe it's not going to be really fun, but it could be profitable for you. Okay. All right. That's good. All right. So I'm going to start this talk by just going ahead and telling you the secret right off the bat. Because I'll tell you the secret, and then we'll spend the rest of our time like figuring out the details and how to do this. So this is it. This is the secret of surfing a stress tsunami. First, you need a personally tailored plan. So we're going to talk about that. That's actually the long part. And then we're going to talk about some well-practiced tactical skills, practical, pragmatic stuff that you will need to know, okay? So when I tell people I'm going to give a talk about panic for fun and profit, if people don't like smile and nod and like edge away from me, they'll at least say like, well, wait a minute, isn't panic bad? And that's true. Panic is often bad. Like, panic is not the optimum state, right? Like normal creative life, we want to, plan things out. We really do want to build healthy rhythms into our lives. I'm not against any of that. 100% pro that. And yet, life happens. And when panic does hit us, full-bore panic, it's like being hit by a tsunami or being struck by lightning. Panic is an overwhelming force that can crush you against that immovable deadline that you're facing. But it's also an opportunity to take control of that panicky chaos energy and wield it for your benefit. And that same tremendous energy that can smash you can also be used to smash that task or that deadline instead. So in your notes, there is a space on the right there for you to list specific ways that panic harms you. Like specific ways that you have been undermined or crushed, or you've had your feet swept out from under you by panic in the past. So feel free to move on to, to fill up the back of the page too. That's not a huge space for that. But I want to tell you 5 ways that panic actually might help you. First of all, panic clarifies priorities. In an instant, panic will clarify whatever your priority ought to be, right? And panic drives away all distractions so you can focus on that one task, right? Panic demands that you cancel all normal obligations to focus on the one task that you're panicking about. Panic also gives us energy to overcome exhaustion, to push through and to do what needs to be done. And by the way, do it quickly. Panic also gives us courage to brush past intimidation. We don't have time for fear right now. Panic, harnessed as energy, will make you bold. Panic also ignites reckless creativity to pursue ideas that you normally would just discard, or ideas which never would have occurred to you outside of the panic fugue that you can enter into, which we're going to get to here. If only there was some way to do that, to harness panic, so that instead of the bad things that you wrote down on that side of your list, you could experience these things, not just hypothetically, but really experience them in moments of panic. So today we're going to learn how to pull off that chaos magic. And when you see that crisis building, that deadline looming, you're going to have a plan, and you're going to have some practiced skills that will help you make the most of it instead of succumbing to it. You might even decide to manufacture your own panic. You can use manufactured panic to break yourself out of a slump. or to force yourself to begin a new thing that you've been wanting to begin and just haven't gotten around to yet. You can use a preemptive panic. You can use panic as a preemptive strike to stave off a future panic, which you cannot afford to risk. Okay, so you laugh, but I actually started Wordsmith Writing Coaches as an academic coaching business. I was a dissertation coach, and doctoral candidates do not call a professional coach until they've run out of all the resources that their university can provide them, and they're approaching a serious panic. Okay, and so for years, my expertise, my job was to help people deal with the panic that they were in, marshal all their resources, and mine too often, and deal with this panic to meet that deadline so that they got more done in panic mode working with me than they had done in the previous 5 to 7 years. And that's partly, I'll take credit for some of that, but a lot of that is the panic energy and all these things that panic did for them. You know, all of a sudden you can put on the back burner all those family obligations, all the things that normally distract you, and the lassitude when you look at something huge and daunting in the indeterminate future. It's not close enough to panic you yet because it's not about to crush you yet, right? And you just, when you look at that future and you know that right now you do not have the resources to accomplish that goal, which you're going to have to accomplish because it's approaching, you know, and you have to do it or it's going to crush you. But you know that you can't yet, or you feel like you can't. You think that you can. And that panic is going to give you the energy that you need to overcome it, and the courage that you need, and the reckless creativity that you need to overcome it. But only if you can do two things. We have to understand how to avoid being paralyzed by panic, and we have to learn some ways that we can harness that chaos energy of panic. Okay, so those are the things we're going to learn. Yes, I highly recommend the preemptive panic strike. It can sap a great deal of the real dread from a larger deadline looming in the future. This is another important thing. If you do not learn how to engineer a preemptive panic, and if you do not learn how to surf a panic tsunami when it hits you naturally, you're in for a world of hurt someday if you haven't experienced it already. So I'm pitching this as, panic for fun and profit. But this is also a survival skill. It's a life-saving skill. It's a disaster mitigation skill. And once you have successfully channeled a panic or two of your own, you'll be equipped to help others to survive and even thrive when disaster rushes upon them. And this is going to work best when you can anticipate the sort of panic, the sort of disaster that you're going to face, okay? So this panic that we're talking about right now, I'm talking about mostly writing related or creativity related or work related panics maybe. But you can adapt these principles to face any sort of panic attacks, phobias, all those things. So let's get into it. We got to start by deconstructing panic and understanding what panic really is. So first of all, panic is too much stress poured into too little time, or too much things that have to be done and not enough time to do them all, or not enough resources to do them all, or both. And that combined with a nearly immediate and painful consequence for failure, right? So there's two different kinds of stress. Let me just clarify something real quick. When I talk about different kinds of stress, this is actually a source of confusion. There's physics definition of stress, which is sometimes helpful in the conversation, but often misleading. There's neuromuscular stress, which is always good for your body up to a certain threshold. And then like rhabdo, we want to avoid that stuff, right? And then there's emotional stress, which is our focus right now. Okay, not those other kinds. So take those other kinds and go, oh, that's an interesting concept of stress. We're going to put those to one side. So emotional stress itself comes in two basic flavors. positive stress and negative stress. And both of them create very similar biochemical reactions, but we interpret and experience those biochemical reactions differently. So the positive stress, a lot of people who are like, they only hear the anti-stress drumbeat all their lives. They've never heard anyone describe positive stress. Positive stress is a real thing. And I'm not talking about neuromuscular positive stress. I'm not talking about working out. Oh, I'm tired, I will get stronger. We're talking emotional right here. You taste positive stress when you have a breakthrough or a celebration or a positive surprise of some kind, right? Or when you're striving competitively and you're doing really well. You haven't won yet. You're still trying to win or trying to, beat your last record or whatever. But you're doing a good job, right? You're under great stress in those moments. Like your body will respond as if you are under stress. You get the biochemical stress hormones and stuff. But it's a happy thing. So negative stress is a kind of stress that you feel when you're panicking because of failure. You feel like a failure. Or when you suffer defeat or despair or disappointment or an unhappy surprise. I mean, it doesn't have to be panic. Like you feel these other kinds of stress. And that's the other thing is that there's a lot of different textures of stress too, right? Like there's chronic stress, acute stress. There's like the low grade stress that you're hardly aware of, but gradually wears you down over time. There's minor detail irritant stress, like little pet peeves that pop up and annoy the heck out of you. And then there's also, this is an important thing, when we look at negative stress, I just want to point out that there are two different kinds of, the kind of stress that leads to real panic, right? Two categories here are ontological existential stress and physical existential stress, okay? So the ontological existential stress, that's like meaning of life stress. Like, it's when you feel the nihilism like bearing down on you. Like, I have nothing to live for. Life is meaningless. I don't know why I'm even doing this. Everything is pointless. Yeah, that's ontological existential stress. Because, it's kind of funny when I'm saying it now, but if any of you have dealt with depression, like, it's real. It's actually no joking matter. And even though it's ontological, like, you're not actually going to die, it can create that feeling that I'm going to die, or maybe I should help that along a little bit, which, that's why it's existential, because it does threaten your existence in a way. And then there's physical existential stress, which is, whoa, meaning of life be damned, that truck's about to hit me. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's that physical stress. So the odd thing is, our limbic system, so we're going to be talking about three different parts of our minds: our conscious mind, our subconscious mind, and our limbic system, our lizard brain. I know, those of you who are neurologists here, I'm oversimplifying wildly, but it's going to help us get through, okay? So, you know what? Let me back up a second, because I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me finish telling you about the biochemical reaction. So, our body reacts, produces all these biochemical, like a hormone cocktail when we start to panic, okay? It's got adrenaline and cortisol, and after that, the cocktail gets really complicated. We're not going to talk about those other things yet. But just so you know, it is complicated. And adrenaline and cortisol are the two big ones in there. Now, cortisol gets a bad rap. But everybody talks about cortisol as, that horrible stress hormone that does all these bad things to you. True, if that's all you're going to focus on with cortisol. But I want you to think of cortisol as the focus hormone. The problem is when cortisol is the dominant hormone in that cocktail of stress hormones that you're feeling, then it gives you too much focus. It gives you like tunnel vision focus creatively. Like you can't see or think of anything except either that, the threat that's coming at you, or your own helplessness or something, but like whatever it is that you're focusing on, that's all you can see. You can't see any of the possibilities that might be open to you. Okay. And of course, there's all the other horrible things that cortisol does to you. It's the heart attack hormone. But adrenaline, everybody's like, yo, yeah, adrenaline. I'm an adrenaline junkie. Like, woohoo, adrenaline. Oh, slow down. Adrenaline has two sides to it too. Yes, it is the boundless energy hormone. It's the strength and speed hormone. The problem is that adrenaline destroys your fine motor coordination. And adrenaline gives you a sense of heightened perception, which is true in a way, but it heightens your perception of all the medium and large details that are relevant to your situation. And you completely miss all of the actual details. So when you're really up on adrenaline, this is when people like they lose the ability to read text. You know, when they have a lot of adrenaline, of course they do. I mean, it's just adrenaline, I guess it is kind of like a focusy sort of hormone, but anyway, so this goes on. The interesting thing is that whether we're feeling ontological stress or like physical threat stress, our limbic system doesn't distinguish between those two things. And see, I'm getting ahead of myself again. So I wanted to talk about all these things. About ontological stress. There is the reason that we feel ontological distress and stress when something happens to us is not actually caused by the thing that happens. It's caused by our interpretation of that thing. For example, let's imagine there's a young boy been taking a nap at home. He wakes up in the middle of the afternoon and he gets up and he looks outside and he realizes it's raining. It started to rain. And that means no baseball this afternoon. No baseball for this boy. He looks out, he's like, it's raining. I'm sure they're going to cancel the baseball game. Is that boy going to break down in tears, or is he going to jump on the bed, absolutely thrilled? It depends on what he feels about baseball, right? If he's like, oh man, I was looking forward to baseball, this opportunity to get together with my friends and play baseball for some reason, because I don't understand people who love baseball. But I understand that it's a thing, okay? Or is he going to be more like me, where he's like, oh, I don't have to play baseball. I can stay home and read a book. I don't have to be out there with those mean kids who tease me about not being able to catch anything. Like, it'll be great. I'm so glad I can just stay home and read Tolkien. So the thing is that the boy didn't see the rain, unless they're a certain kind of autism. They didn't look out at the rain and then have to think for a moment about, oh, interesting, precipitation. I'm not sure how this is going to affect my afternoon. The interpretation of either the threat or the delight was instantaneous, or it felt instantaneous. But it was because the subconscious mind reacts like that and lets the limbic system know whether we should panic or celebrate. Once we're a bit more mature and we can choose to direct the focus of our thoughts, then our response to things that happen to us, can depend on whether or not we focus on the negatives, the threats, or the positives and opportunities. But that initial response is always going to be from our subconscious mind, because it just reacts so much faster than we can think. So we need to cultivate a mindset that panics at appropriate times, not at inappropriate times. We need to cultivate a mindset that will panic when the energy of panic can help us to win that battle or that race against the clock. And then we need to cultivate sort of a stoic or Zen mindset about threats and disasters that happen when there's nothing that we can do to avert it. So there's kind of a serenity prayer for stress tsunami surfers, right? God grant me the serenity to deal with unavoidable loss and harm, and the badassery to harness all the power of panic to crush any threat of loss or harm that might result from me missing this deadline, and the wisdom to discern the difference. So that's our thing. Oh, the one determinant is whether or not that's going to threaten us. And I told you about the mindsets. So we can decide what we think. I already said that. That's one of the things that sets humans apart. Unless they're the threat, because then our subconscious mind reacts faster than we can think. But we can snip the nerve of our instinctive reaction. I'm about to show you how. We can transform panic into chaos magic. So to do that, we need a few things. First, we need a well-tuned limbic system that only panics when panic energy can help you. We need a strategy and tactics to harness that panic energy once we're not paralyzed by it. And we need subconscious conditioning and a conscious determination. Oh, wait a minute. There we go. So that we can lean, we need to decide to lean into that panic and train ourselves to do so. Okay. So retraining your limbic system is hard. First of all, because your subconscious mind does not believe you when you try to talk to it, right? The subconscious mind believes your experiences. It believes your fully convinced assessments of those past experiences. And it's just going to click and drag on that into the future, okay? So the deeper part of your subconscious, your lizard brain, your limbic system, it doesn't even understand words, okay? So you can make some headway over significant time with your subconscious mind, but none at all with your limbic system, okay? When you're trying to use words. Your limbic system doesn't understand words or language at all. It only understands what your body is doing and the snap judgments that the subconscious mind sends to it. So, focusing first on, I told you that. Therefore, your subconscious mind needs good psychotherapy. And that's all I'm going to say during this talk, because that's a whole separate talk. I might touch on it a little bit. But your lizard brain, sensory, your limbic system, there is a way to speak to it, not with words. Don't try to get down this direction through the subconscious mind, because only the subconscious mind is allowed to talk to the limbic system. But the limbic system is paying attention to your body and what your body is doing, okay? And so if your limbic system is like, I don't know exactly what's going on, but it must be a saber-toothed tiger, and it's actually your dissertation deadline, or your publication deadline, or, you're about to give a talk at LTUE and you're not prepared yet. Shame, I'm going to die. So all those things, we're going to die. We have to panic now, right? But it's paying attention to what your body is doing. It's trying to affect what your body is doing, right? So when your limbic system floods you with that stress cocktail, it's expecting you to it's like fight or flight. Okay, are we fighting yet? Do you need more adrenaline? Can you see what's happening? Do you need more cortisol? Like what's happening now? It wants to know. Should we do? And so if you focus on all these negative things, so that your subconscious mind is like, oh yeah, things really suck. Subconscious mind gives more feedback to the limbic system. Things get worse and worse and worse. And before you know it, you're having a panic attack. You can hardly breathe. You can lose your sight temporarily. I mean, anyone who's struggled with panic attacks, it's a horrible thing. Okay. But if your limbic system, sends out all that juice to the body and it can't see anything and it can't understand language. And so it's like, okay, how are we doing? Do you need more? Is that okay? Did we dodge the saber-toothed tiger? So it's paying attention to what your body is doing. So if your body is rolling back and forth on a yoga mat, the limbic system is like, interesting. This doesn't feel like something we would do if that saber-tooth were still around. And, this is why breath work is so good. In fact, probably going to talk about this later, but I'm going to tell you right now, okay? The fastest way to lower your cortisol levels, almost instantaneously, when they they track this in real-time scientific experiments. The fastest way to lower your stress hormones so that, low enough for your conscious mind to be able to take over your body again and you can be productive, even though you may still be jittery. The fastest way to do that is by a vocal sigh of relief, or it's called breath work. You hold it for a second. You vocalize it. And your limbic system is like, oh, well, okay, good. We're good. Well, apparently, like, we dodged it. Did you feel what the human just did? Oh, we're good. Okay. Let's turn it all down. We don't want to give this person, adrenal fatigue, because that would be bad. What if that thing comes back, So to stave off paralysis, to defuse useless panic while you're in it, we need to learn and practice breath work and something related to that called body work. These are both part of something called somatic therapy, if you want to get really geeky into it, which I do recommend. So these things take advantage of your limbic system's intimate, reciprocal connection to your body. Your physical body's movement and sensations of touch are the only sensory organs that your limbic system has, okay? It's the only way that your limbic system can be absolutely sure about what's really happening around you. So since these lower parts of your brain are not listening to you when you think or talk at them, don't bother. And when you're in the panic, don't bother trying to think or talk yourself out of it. Don't bother. Use the somatic therapy. So I should say a little something about body work. So if you're having a panic attack, one of the most helpful things you can do is you find something really solid and push on it. And it helps if you do that with your hand or with your feet too. Like, put your feet down and press your feet down into the floor and feel that. Like, wiggle your toes. Try to grip the floor with your feet, and try to push the wall with your hands and feel how solid that wall is. Like, I'm in a real place. It's okay. Because one of the things that happens during a serious panic attack is you feel detached from your body. There's a feeling of detachment. And the scary thing is, when you are detached from your body like that, you cannot control it. Okay? So, and you need to practice this stuff, these tactics, before the panic attack hits. So you can't just say, oh, this is very interesting. Nick is telling me all these things. I'll remember this for when I need it. You can't. No, because remember, your subconscious mind and your lizard brain are not paying any attention. As a matter of fact, they'll cut off, the connection of your conscious mind to your body and your feelings and everything, because that conscious mind, it's always doing crazy stuff that we don't understand. Just ignore it, because we got to just survive right now. So you need to practice these things ahead of time. Another thing is, when you have a lot of adrenaline coursing through your body, the only way to let that adrenaline subside is to use it, okay? So one thing that, people who get panic attacks are taught is to shake your hands like this and go ahead and bounce on your toes a little bit. Shake your hands. If, you're stuck in an elevator or something like that, having a panic attack, like, this is something you can do, while holding still and hopefully not thwacking anybody around you, but other things too. Like, one of my clients would go for a run, and that's great if, you live in Southern California and you're, like, you have some time. I mean, running is a little time intensive for me. I do burpees. Like, burpees are exhausting. Have you ever tried to do a burpee? Like, Google it and watch the YouTube video. This is how to do a burpee. And you try to do 5 of them. 5 burpees, and I just used up my extra adrenaline. I'm like, okay, I still have that energy going through me, but now I'm able to focus. I'm able to sit down and get back to work on my writing after I've done 5 burpees. That's all you need, because you're calming yourself down in other ways too. By the way, I should say, you remember, your limbic system only knows what your body is telling it. When I'm sitting at a chair with my hands on a keyboard, my limbic system is ready to panic. This is not the posture of everything's fine. This could very well be the posture of I'm going to die if I don't finish this and submit it on time, So yeah, slow, deep breaths, a straight, comfortable posture, relaxing your facial muscles intentionally. They directly and immediately affect your cortisol levels. You telling your limbic system, hey, looks like the danger is past. Would our body be doing these calm things if we were still in danger? No, of course not. So retraining your limbic system. We're going to practice breath work and body work. We're going to do that. Somatic movement. I think I talked about this too long. So I'm going to skip that part. But do look it up. Progressive muscle relaxation, PMR. Very interesting. Also will help you fall asleep. I can fall asleep in about 45 seconds, according to my wife who times me. And one of my tricks is I use progressive muscle relaxation. And don't tell her, but I kind of start that ahead of the 45 seconds. I'll tense up and then I'll relax and go, okay, now I'm trying to go to sleep. She starts to tell her. But so maybe 60 seconds for me. But it takes practice. It's not an instantaneous thing. You need to practice it. So yeah, we're not going to talk about that. This is what took me so long last time. PMR, yes. So now we're talking about the conscious part of your mind. Okay. So we've learned the somatic stuff so we can take the edge off of the panic. We know how to not be paralyzed by panic. Okay. So yay, we are no longer paralyzed by panic. Now we need to take that chaos energy and we need to actually lean into it. Because when you're no longer paralyzed by panic, now you can do something. And the natural instinct is to, there's this big scary thing. And now we're not panicked about it anymore, but there's still a big scary thing. There's this task we need to do. And the normal response, even though I'm not panic anymore, is to fight, flee, freeze, or fawn, right? Those are the four stress responses, okay? So fighting it or fleeing it often looks like distraction, okay? Now, you understand, did you know that there's a direct link between anxiety and boredom? Anxiety and boredom are exact opposites. No, not creative boredom, which is helpful, but the kind of boredom which is like, I am bored with this. I must do anything else besides this. This I am bored with. I will do anything. I'll just comb my fingers through my hair. I'll do absolutely anything else besides this thing. That's actually the backside of anxiety. Okay. So we need to decide we're not going to fall to the temptation of, fighting this, I don't want to do this, or fleeing from it by distraction and freezing. Actually, I might come back to this because there is a positive, I'm just going to tell you, there is one thing that has really helped me sometimes in panic. When I'm fighting distraction and things, I will make myself just stand there and do nothing. And I have this intense desire to be doing everything. I've got 32 hours. I don't have time to stand. But, I'm doing all these other things. No, I've got to focus on this. I stand still. Then I just don't do anything. And I let the pressure build. And that panic is still in me. I'm not trying to calm down. I'm thinking about all the stuff I need to do, all the stuff I want to do, and the stuff I need to do. I'm focused. I'm committed. I'm committing myself. I'm going to press on. I'm going to lean into this panic. The exact thing that I fear is the exact thing I'm going to do. In a moment. Okay, now. And now, I'm not distracted anymore. It's just a little mind game I play. If it works for you, that's great. If it doesn't, please don't keep trying. So yeah, we need to choose that we are going to take all that lingering, jittery energy and pour it into the positive. We take those positive aspects of panic. We're going to put it all to good use. So we're going to choose to go after the real threat, not a physical one that we can fight or flee or hide from. It's that project. It's that manuscript. It's that responsibility that we're going to pour ourselves into. We still have a little time. We're going to do everything we can with everything that we have within our power. We're going to put our fully integrated and focused brain to work on these problems. Let your imagination go and see what it fetches back. If you can make progress in some area on this thing that you have to do, go full throttle. Panic has charged up your flux capacitor. The calming body work has put gas in your DeLorean. Okay, so you've got both kinds of power, right? Different kinds of motive power, and you need both of them. You need gas in the tank. You need to stay hydrated. You need to eat healthy. You need to take a cat nap every now and then. That's putting gas in the tank. And all that panic energy, that's filling up your flux capacitor so you can time travel at 88 miles an hour. So anger is natural, by the way, at this point. Once you've taken the edge off your panic, perfectly natural to feel really pissed off, usually at yourself, because you're the one, usually, not always, you're often the one who's gotten yourself into this mess, or pissed off at whoever else was responsible for putting you into this position where you have so much stress and, you just have to deal with it. So, but anger is energy too. So whether it's a tightly controlled rage or grim determination, however you can temper that anger and use it, you don't want to just blow off anger like, oh, I hate that guy who, he dropped out and I have to do all his work and it's due tomorrow or whatever, next week. Don't be angry at him. Turn that anger towards the task that we have to do. Use the anger as energy. A slow burn is more productive than having to contain a tantrum. So don't let the anger distract you from your purpose, like the panic paralysis did. Lean into the panic, the fear, the anger, peel away all the trappings and pour the core power of it into doing what needs to be done. So, yes, I think I talked about that. Yep, there we go. All those exciting things. So now we're going to talk about how to craft the best kind of panic. Okay, this is the kind of panic that you can surf to success. And it's a 4-ingredient recipe. The first ingredient is just understanding the scope of what needs to be done, all the work that you need to do, right? You got to deal with what you're dealt, but you need to be clear on what exactly that is. And especially if it's a writing task for someone else, go back and clarify the things, because there's so many times when academic clients of mine or publishing clients of mine have worked really, really hard to create the wrong thing. Okay? Don't. You'll be even more angry with yourself after this, okay? So just let's take a moment and clarify. Like, we've just gotten to, come down from panic paralysis. Now we can operate again. We're harnessing this chaos energy. Let's be really clear what we're using it for, okay? The second ingredient is stakes. Clarify them. What's going to happen? And now sometimes we do this as a mental trick to defuse panic completely. Like what's the worst that can happen thing? Like, I could go ABD. I'll just, they could deny my dissertation if it's a piece of crap and I turn it in. And I don't have any more time on the clock. And I'll just go ABD, all but dissertation. And I won't ever be able to teach, but I will be able to get a professional job, and I can have a PhD with an asterisk after my name, but you know what? I won't die. My wife might divorce me, but probably not. I hope, we can negotiate that, right? But, so playing that's a way of completely defusing the panic and giving up. Okay, so don't go there. We want to keep ourselves in productive panic mode, right? So when you clarify the stakes, you have to clarify, okay, if I don't turn in something that is at least minimally embarrassing, I will not ever be a full PhD. I have this, I don't get any more extensions, So clarify the stakes. Like if I do not turn in this manuscript, this publisher might drop me. Like they have to, or this anthology might be published without my story in it if I can't get this story in on time. Like that's embarrassing. The publisher might never want to work with me again, or the anthology editor might never want to work with me again. But if I can get it in, at least, a minimum viable product with all that viable means in that context. Like minimum viable product is not necessarily, it's not a crappy outline, right? It needs to be actually written, right? But if it needs a little help, at least it was turned in on time. So clarify the stakes and the time frame. So tighten it. Like you think you have 32 hours, tell yourself, all right, I've got 30 hours to do this. Because those last 2 hours, like I'm going to have to pee. I have to make sure my car actually starts. Like what if, there are what if problems. Like life has been hell already. I should expect another 2 hours of hell and horrible surprises at the end. So if I've got 32 hours, let's shoot for 30, And this is true for when you're crafting your own panic, when you're engineering a panic, you're like, okay, I want to get this thing done. How big of a time frame should I give myself for a panic? The answer is, how long do you need before you panic in a natural situation? For example, for my wife, it's 1 day less than a week. So she's got a whole week left or 8 days left or whatever. She's like, okay, well, oh man, it's, I'm kind of worried, work, got to get it done. But, there's laundry at me. But when it gets to 6 days, it's like, I have less than a week. Any value of less than a week, my wife panics. And it's like, laundry can wait. You eat soup, from a can. Like we're not, it's all over. Like we're putting everything aside until we take care of business. Now I have ADHD. So ADHD, one of the interesting complexities of that is something which I hate the fact that the literature calls it time blindness. This is inaccurate. I will tell you, I am very aware of time. Like I understand time. You don't have to you need to watch. I know. I understand how time works, okay? I'm not blind to time. However, I am nearsighted. So it's not blindness, it's time myopia that I have, right? So for me, the natural panic doesn't occur until maybe 30 hours before the due date, right? So my wife, it's 1 day less than a week. For me, it's about 30 hours. So if I'm going to craft my own natural panic, the juices don't flow until around 30 hours. Okay. So yeah, how long is a good time frame to gin up a proper panic? There we go. Yes. The best way to make an artificial time frame real is by making the stakes real. Okay. So when we're in a natural panic, we know what the stakes are. It's like, well, I finished my dissertation and turn it in, or I will never be a doctor. I turn this thing into this publisher, or they will never ask me to submit anything ever again. That's disaster, right? So, but that's someone else's stakes. You didn't have to create that. You just have to recognize it and clarify it in your own mind. But when you're creating a time frame, when you're engineering a genuine panic, right? Because remember, it's hard to fool the limbic system. The limbic system is not listening to you saying, oh no, I have to panic. It doesn't work. Right? You need to create a real thing. So the best way to make an artificial time frame real is by making the stakes real. What will happen if you don't deliver the goods on time in this engineered panic we've got here? Okay. There's many answers to this. And some of them you can just tell yourself, shame. Like that could be enough, right? Like I suck at life and everything, and I don't want to suck. Like I really don't want to suck. So if I won't suck, right? For some people that's enough. It's not enough for me. Okay. So let's pretend this is a hypothetical situation. Okay. Let's say that you make a bet that you cannot afford to lose. Imagine that you write a check to a charity that you hate, or you write a check to the election campaign of a candidate who should never, like we must bend heaven and earth to make sure that this candidate is never elected. Okay. But you're writing a check to the, and not a small check. You're going to write a big check, like a rent check. Like this needs to be an amount of money that you cannot afford to bet. Okay. So you write this check, you date it, you sign it, you put it in an envelope, a plain envelope, and you address it, and you put your stamp it and everything. And then you give it to someone else, someone reliable. And you tell them, hey, I'm going to do a thing. And if I don't give that thing to you by this date and time, could you put this envelope in the mail for me? And don't tell them what it is, because they might hate that guy too, right? Don't tell them what it is, because don't tell them about this crazy scheme of yours either, because for you to really enter into a proper panic, you need to have confidence that they are going to go through with it. Okay? You need to believe that they'll really mail it without realizing what it's going to cost you. Now you have high stakes and a real time frame. Can you feel the panic brewing? That's real. So, but wait a minute. This says it's a 4-ingredient recipe. And so far, all I've done is reiterate the parts of the ingredients of a panic. What's the 4th ingredient? Well, we've already talked about it. It's your flux capacitor. Okay? And flux capacitor, like that's a metaphor for whatever new thing you are bringing to this experience of a panic, which you have never brought into a panic situation before. Okay? It's everything that you're learning here. It's the things that you're, the somatic therapy that you've been practicing, because you need to practice it when you're not panicking, so that when you do panic, you just automatically do. Okay? And it's also the mindset that you have. Like, wait a minute, I can use this. Like Harry Dresden, like I've lost my staff and my blasting rod, but wait, chaos energy. I can work with this, So this is all new stuff that you're bringing to it. But maybe you don't like Back to the Future. The flux capacitor thing just sounds kind of corny. You can use any metaphor here, but I really want you to choose a metaphor. Okay? It can be, I started out talking about surfing a stress tsunami, right? This is your surfboard. There is no surfing without a surfboard. Without a surfboard, you're debris in the ocean as the tsunami washes you on the shore and crushes you, right? So the flux capacitor, without a flux capacitor, you're just out for a drive, right? It could be Harry Dresden's pentacle, since we're talking about Harry Dresden. Like, if he loses all his stuff if he's got the pentacle, he can still bend chaos energy to his will. Or maybe it's your newly acquired and growing expertise in panic Aikido, right? Like, come at me, panic. Let's go. I've got you. I'm going to turn your energy to my own purposes. Or maybe you're a Star Wars geek, and this is your newly race-tuned Corellian engine in your beat-up old spice freighter, right? Maybe it's Galen Bradwarden's enchanted dragon-killing spear. I'm old. Okay. Galen, remember his master? Okay, never mind.
I do.
Okay, thank you. So this metaphor is whatever you come up with that best describes how this 4th ingredient is going to work for you. Because remember, there is a way that our conscious minds calibrate our unconscious mind. And that is the things that we've experienced in the past and that we have carefully, deeply assessed and ruminated upon that have time to sink into our subconscious mind. So it's going to take a while for that to happen. Now look, it works with phobias, right? That's how you create a phobia. This is also how you create a flux capacitor, the positive version of the process, right? So flux capacitor. To create that flux capacitor, you need to practice the anti-paralysis tactics that I've talked about. And I'm going to give you some more in a little bit. You also have to, the The flux capacitor is made of the wise, conscious choices that you continue to make while you are panicking. Okay? You make wise, conscious choices, and you keep making the wise, conscious choices. I know you're not going to do it perfectly, but keep resetting, keep coming back to it, right? So, channel the panic. Okay. Yes, you need to maintain your mindset and your focus. Make the wisest choices you can. So here are some other tactics for surfing you're building that surfboard, building that flux capacitor. Schedule supportive reminders during the panic. Like when you realize, and as you'll be able to see panics coming, right? So when you realize, okay, this weekend, like this thing is due Monday morning. So I'm probably, if I don't finish like Sunday afternoon or something, I might pull an all-nighter on Sunday. So you can set alarms on your phone. You can cancel them later. If you're going to go to sleep, you can cancel all those alarms. But set the alarms on your phone so your phone will go off and you'll be like, oh yeah, that's right. I need to refocus. You can also schedule supportive reminders with other people. You can ask for accountability, ask for support. You don't have to go through a panic alone, and you can delegate as much work as possible to other people. So look for those things and try to set those things up before the panic actually hits. Okay. And maintain ruthless focus during the panic. And you all these things here help you to maintain ruthless focus during the panic. So once the deadline arrives, then deliver something on time, whatever you have. If it meets the criteria for success, you win. That was it. You've mastered panic instead of being mastered by it. But even if whatever it is not quite done, just send it. Send whatever you have, no matter how pitiful it seems to you. In academia and in publishing, it will help if you include a cover letter that does not offer excuses, but which does offer a time estimate of how long it will take you to finish this. Okay? A little more on that in a second. Now, if you failed, if you failed to the extent that you can't turn anything in, or it was not a turn something in situation, but it just, if you failed, take a moment to breathe and regroup. You may still have some options. So let's consider those end game options. You could accept the loss and then reframe what's just happened and reframe your view of yourself. Most of the time, the worst that can happen isn't so bad. You failed this one, but you're not a failure. You are tough. You survived, and you will overcome this hurt. It set you back, but it won't break you. If being a professor, with this particular PhD is no longer an option, you can pivot. You can do something else. You're not actually going to die. Okay. The other one is you don't have to just give up and accept the consequences. You can maintain your momentum. I can email that short story for the anthology as much as it is, send it, and then keep working. Like, just because I hit send doesn't mean I suddenly collapse and pass out. I mean, if you do, then, maybe you need to collapse and pass out. But usually, like, once I've pulled an all-nighter, it's actually hard to get to sleep after that. Like, in normal conditions, my body is ready to go to sleep and I can go to sleep very quickly, but not after I pulled an all-nighter. I might as well stay up all day, or at least until the afternoon, right? So since I have momentum, why don't I keep going? I've turned it in, but I haven't heard back yet. Let me keep working on it. What if I turn it in at 8 o'clock in the morning and at 10, I get a text message, from my managing editor saying, hey, got your story, seems to be missing a few things. Well, you just worked on it another 2 hours. It's got 2 hours more worth of stuff if you've been maintaining your momentum. And you can reply and say, oh yeah, about that. Hang on a sec. Send them the new thing, or say, I'll have the rest of it to you by noon. I've done, X and Y already to it. That's great. Like, it kind of counts, right? Maybe 100% counts. So maintain momentum and finish late, even if it won't be accepted. Maintain momentum and finish. Because now you have a finished, in this example, you have a finished short story. It might not be accepted for this anthology, but dude, you just put all that work into this short story and it's finished. Let it chill in the icebox of the back of your mind for a day, come back to it, edit it, submit it somewhere else. It's not like the thing has vanished because you missed the deadline. You maintain momentum and complete it. And completion is its own kind of success. Yeah, ride the remaining energy right past the deadline all the way to the sand. You know, the stress tsunami surfing. So, and by the way, this is the other thing. You can try to negotiate an extension. Don't do this until the deadline has arrived. Well, unless you know that you have to. But even when you've been told in academia, no more extensions, you can ask. When the deadline arrives, you can at least ask. If you do manage to negotiate extension, however, meet the extension no matter what. Because in academia, if they give you that last extension, that really is it. Finally, take a big step back and reflect on the whole experience. Especially if you engineered this panic yourself. Shift your frame of reference. You may have fallen short of your higher goal. Because remember, if you did, then that was plan A. So you succeeded. Okay. So these are all plan B options, okay? You fell short of your higher goal, but look at how much you accomplished. You were learning from experience, and you just had one, right? So you'll do better in the future because of this. And by the way, especially if you engineered a preemptive panic, you may not have achieved the goal that you set for yourself, but holy cow, look at how much you accomplished in one weekend. And the actual goal is still to come. You may have time for another panic. Okay? Before the last one comes, right? But meanwhile, I want you to celebrate unironically the fact that you made the most of a tough situation and you did not fall prey to panic paralysis. And finally, this is great. Let's do it again. But only after you've fully recovered. You need rest. Your mind and your body need to recover. So, physically, neurologically, and biochemically, you need time to recover. Adrenal fatigue is a real thing. You do not want to experience it. It's yucky. I'm very well acquainted with adrenal fatigue. Rest. And while you're resting, try all those other normal things, responsible writing disciplines. Try that for a while before you surf another wave of panic for fun and profit. So some final things. Handouts will be available as a download if you don't have the handouts. You didn't get the handouts already at the beginning.